Prime Minister Scott Morrison will head to the G7 summit in France, where Australia has been granted observer status.
It will be the Prime Minister's first face-to-face meeting with Boris Johnson since he became British Prime Minister.
The French president thinks he knows the key to dealing with Donald Trump. There are no discussions that Donald Trump will have on campaign promises, so forget talking about the Paris Climate Agreement the US president wants to pull out of, but he can raise the latest issue President Macron says is an urgent one, the Amazonian fires at the moment, those ones burning in those rainforests. It does mean for Macron he can't really raise the issue of the Iranian nuclear deal with President Trump. That was a key part of the US president's election campaign. He will instead focus on other leaders here, other European leaders, to make sure they can try to keep that agreement intact in case there's a new US president by the end of next year. Scott Morrison supports that position, but has also become the fourth nation, that is Australia becoming the fourth nation, to lend military support to the Strait of Hormuz to make sure that shipping there can get through with oil tankers free from any Iranian interference.
There's an opportunity in G7, obviously, to meet in one place with some of the biggest countries, leaders in the world. And obviously that's the first opportunity to meet with Boris Johnson in his new role as Prime Minister. I've obviously met him before and we've spoken many times, but this will be a good opportunity, particularly given the announcements I've made this week regarding our involvement in the multinational force in the Straits of Hormuz.
So that will be raised when Scott Morrison meets with Donald Trump. The Australian Prime Minister will also meet with Boris Johnson, the first time the two of them will meet as leaders of their respective countries. Top of the agenda, a trade deal. Boris Johnson has been unsuccessful so far in trying to get a renegotiation to Brexit, so instead he's turning his mind to how the country looks after exiting the European Union. Australia could be the first country doing a trade deal with the UK. We'll await details of that. There'll be another issue he'll raise, perhaps a bit less diplomatically. Scott Morrison keen to mention the Ashes. It would have been a tough conversation for Australia after day one of the third test. Maybe a tough one now for Boris Johnson.
I suspect I'll give Boris a hard time over the cricket, and he will try and do the same to me. But that's the nature of our relationship, and I suspect the Prime Minister of India will take a shot at both of us on that front.
Scott Morrison arrives late Saturday, French time, alongside his wife Jenny here in France. Tom Connell, Sky News, Biarritz.